Humble woman humiliated by engineers until she fixes a car that's been idle for 36 years. Donna Miller took a deep breath before stepping through the glass doors of Thompson Engineering and Associates. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched the golden invitation that had mysteriously arrived at her home 3 days prior. With no sender, only her name handwritten in elegant script she didn't recognize. The main hall buzzed with the inauguration of the company's new headquarters. Donna watched the men in impeccable suits, chatting animatedly, their voices echoing in the modern marble and glass space. At the center of the lobby, a vintage navy blue car gleamed under the spotlights, like a precious jewel on display. A discreet plaque beside it noted that the 1978 Ford Mustang had belonged to the company's founder and had been there for 3 decades as a decorative piece. The words on the plaque made Donna swallow hard. 36 years. Exactly how long she knew that specific car had been sitting idle. "Excuse me, are you lost?" The sharp voice of a tall, polished man made her turn. Richard Anderson, the company's chief engineer, looked her up and down with clear disapproval. His eyes lingered on the oil stains on her simple blouse, the tool bag she carried, and her hair tied in a practical ponytail. "I received this invitation." Donna held out the golden paper, her voice quieter than she intended. Richard took the invitation reluctantly, examined it for a few seconds, then snapped his fingers for his assistant. "Jennifer, check if this name is on the guest list." The young assistant quickly typed on her tablet and raised her eyebrows in surprise. "It is, Mr. Anderson. Donna Miller is listed as a special guest." A murmur spread among the nearby engineers. Richard handed back the invitation with a forced smile. "Must be some mistake, but since you're here, enjoy the cocktail. Just be careful not to—" He paused, glancing again at the stains on her clothes. "Touch anything important." Donna felt her face grow warm but didn't respond. She walked through the hall trying to blend in with the other guests, but she noticed the curious stares and whispers. A middle-aged woman commented loudly enough for her to hear. "How absurd to let just anyone into an event like this. What is the world coming to?" Gradually, Donna found herself naturally drawn to the vintage car. Her hands began to tingle with a strange familiarity as she circled the vehicle. When she reached the front, she stopped abruptly. There it was, the small scratch on the bumper she herself had made at 8 years old, playing with a screwdriver in her father's garage. "Interesting, isn't it?" Richard's voice sounded behind her, now accompanied by 3 other engineers. "This car belonged to our founder, Mr. Edward Thompson. It's been here for over 3 decades. Dozens of specialists have tried to get it running again, but it's impossible. The engine was irreversibly damaged." "Actually," Donna turned, surprising them, "this specific model has a known issue with the ignition system. It's not irreversible." The engineers exchanged mocking glances. One of them, younger, began to laugh. "You know about cars?" Richard asked with irony. "Because we have some of the best mechanical engineers in the state here, and they all reached the same conclusion." "I know a little," Donna replied simply. "A little," another engineer repeated, drawing laughter from the group. "Ma'am, this isn't some beetle that broke down on the corner. This is a complex engine that stumped the best professionals. It's no place for amateur curiosity." Donna felt the humiliation burn in her chest, but an inner voice pushed her forward. It was as if the car was calling to her. "Can I take a look?" she asked, her voice steadier now. "A look?" Richard laughed loudly. "Ma'am, this car is worth more than a house. It's not a toy." "Just a quick peek under the hood." "Absolutely not. Enough of this nonsense." Richard motioned to security. "Escort the lady out, please." "Wait, Dad." A young voice cut through the conversation. A teenager of about 17 approached the group, her eyes lighting up as she recognized Donna. "Mrs. Miller? Is that really you?" Richard looked confused at his daughter. "Emily, what are you doing here? You should be home studying." "Dad, this is the mechanic who fixed my bike last month. Remember when I told you? No shop could figure out the problem, but she solved it in 20 minutes. Silence fell over the group. Richard looked from his daughter to Donna with an expression mixing surprise and irritation. "You're a mechanic?" he asked, as if the word were an insult. "I am," Donna replied, lifting her chin. "And what's a neighborhood mechanic doing at an engineer's party?" "I don't know. I just know I got an invitation. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers out. Now back to the story. Emily tugged her father's arm. Dad, she's amazing. She saved my bike when everyone said it was a lost cause, and she never charges the poor families in the neighborhood. My friend Sarah said she fixed her mum's car for free because she knew they were struggling. Richard visibly bristled at his daughter's defense. Emily, go home, now. But Dad, now. The girl gave Donna an apologetic look and reluctantly walked away. Richard turned to Donna with hardened eyes. Listen here, I don't know what game you're playing, but I won't let you turn our company's grand opening into a circus. Get out before I call the police. Richard, what's going on here? A deep, measured voice cut through the tension. Everyone turned to see a man in his 80s descending the main staircase. Edward Thompson, the company's founder, walked slowly but with upright posture, his blue eyes still sharp and alert. Mr. Thompson, Richard straightened immediately, just an intruder who snuck into the party. I was already arranging her removal. Edward studied Donna for a few seconds, his eyes scanning her face with an odd expression. Intruder? Does she have an invitation? She does, but it's obviously fake. A neighborhood mechanic has no reason to be here. A mechanic? Edward's interest sharpened. And what's your name, young lady? Donna Miller. The old man visibly paled. He stood silent for a moment as if processing something important. Miller, he murmured. How old are you? 35. Edward closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, they were wet with tears. Richard, leave her be. She's here at my invitation. Sir? Richard couldn't hide his confusion. And as for the car, Edward continued, ignoring the question, if she wants to take a look, let her. But, Mr. Thompson, with all due respect, she could damage... Richard, Edward's voice was firm and cutting. How many years have you worked for me? 15 years, sir. And in all those 15 years, have I ever made a decision that harmed this company? No, sir. Then trust me now. Edward turned to Donna. Go ahead, my dear. Examine the car. Donna approached the vehicle with hesitant steps. Every eye in the room was now fixed on her. She placed her hand on the hood and felt a wave of nostalgia so strong it nearly knocked her over. How many afternoons had she spent there, sitting in the passenger seat, while her father worked under the hood? She opened the hood gently, and her heart raced. Everything was exactly as she remembered. The V8 engine, the hoses, the wires. But there was something different, something that shouldn't be there. May I get my tools? She asked, looking at Edward. Of course. Donna went to her bag and pulled out some basic tools. The engineers around her began to whisper. Look at those homemade tools, said one. Is she going to fix it with a screwdriver? Where are the diagnostic tools? Another laughed. Donna ignored the comments and began examining the engine systematically. Her hands moved with precision, touching specific spots, listening for sounds others wouldn't notice. After 15 minutes of silent analysis, she stopped. I found the problem. Impossible, said Richard. Our best engineers. The problem isn't the engine itself, Donna interrupted. It's the ignition system. There's a foreign object lodged here that's preventing the spark. What object? Edward asked, stepping closer. Donna used a pair of fine pliers to remove something small and golden from inside the system. When she held it up, everyone could see what it was. A gold, rose-shaped earring. Edward groaned as if he'd been punched. His legs wobbled, and he had to lean against the car. My God, he whispered. Martha's earring. Mr. Thompson, are you all right? Richard asked, concerned. Martha. My wife. Edward looked at the earring with tear-filled eyes. She lost this earring the day the car stopped working. It was the last day we drove together before she... His voice broke. Donna felt a tightness in her chest. Now it all made sense. The mysterious invitation, the old man's recognition, the way he had looked at her. You knew my father, didn't you? She asked softly. Edward nodded, still holding the earring. John Miller was my best friend, and the best mechanic I ever knew. He took care of this car as if it were his own child. The engineers around them fell silent, finally understanding the gravity of the moment. "He died when you were still a child," Edward continued. "I promised him I'd look after you, but your mother moved away and I lost contact. It took me years to find you again." "My mother never told me. She wanted to protect you. She wanted you to grow up independent, without favors or pity." Edward wiped his eyes. "But I never forgot. And when I heard you'd become a mechanic, just like your father, I wanted you here, on this special day." Richard cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Mr. Thompson, this is very touching, but the car is still broken. An earring wouldn't disable an entire engine." Donna turned to him with renewed determination. "Want to bet?" Before Richard could answer, she leaned over the engine again. She tucked the earring into her bag and got to work. Her hands moved with a skill that impressed even the most skeptical engineers. "The earring was causing a short in the system," she explained as she worked. "But there are also issues with the fuel mixture and some dried-out cables. Nothing irreversible." She worked for 40 minutes in complete silence. The entire room had stopped to watch. When she finally straightened up, her hands were even dirtier, but her eyes shone with confidence. "May I try starting it?" Edward nodded. Donna sat in the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine coughed, sputtered, but didn't start. She tried again. Nothing. "I knew it," Richard said with smug satisfaction. "Pure fantasy." "Wait." Donna got out and opened the hood again. "Just need to adjust one thing." She tweaked something the others couldn't quite see and returned to the driver's seat. This time, when she turned the key, the engine roared magnificently. The sound echoed through the hall like music, prompting spontaneous applause from several guests. But the joy was short-lived. After a few seconds, the engine died again. "Well, that's the end of the luck," said Richard. "Enough of this nonsense." Donna stepped out of the car, her face flushed with frustration. She knew she was close to the solution, but something still wasn't right. "Can I try one more time?" she asked Edward. "Donna," Richard said impatiently, "you've already made your point. The car ran for a few seconds. That was luck. Now stop embarrassing everyone and leave." "Richard, let her try," Edward intervened. "Sir, with all due respect, this is turning into a circus. Our important guests are starting to leave because of this awkward situation." It was true. Donna noticed several people had already left the event, some clearly uncomfortable with the scene. "Maybe he's right," Donna said quietly to Edward. "Maybe I should go." "No." Emily's firm voice cut through the air. The young woman had returned and now faced her father with determination. "Dad, you've always taught me that prejudice is a mark of ignorance, and right now you're being exactly what you told me to avoid." "Emily, you don't understand." "Yes, I do. You're afraid a woman fixed what your engineers couldn't. You're afraid to admit maybe you're not as superior as you think." The silence in the hall was deafening. Some guests began murmuring among themselves, clearly divided between those who supported Donna and those who wanted her gone. "I'll give her one more chance," Edward finally said, "but if she doesn't succeed this time, we'll have to call it quits." Donna nodded and returned to the engine. This time, though, something was different. The pressure, the judging stares, the responsibility of honoring her father's memory. It all weighed on her shoulders like a mountain. Her hands trembled as she worked on the components. She made a small mistake reconnecting a wire and had to redo it. Then another. With each mistake, she heard the whispers of disapproval grow louder around her. "She's too nervous," someone commented. "Clearly not cut out for this pressure," said another. Donna took a deep breath and tried to focus. She remembered her father's words, repeated so often during her childhood. "Donna, an engine has a soul. You need to listen to what it's trying to tell you." She closed her eyes and placed her hands on the engine, blocking out all the noise around her, trying to connect with the vehicle as her father had taught her. Slowly, she realized what was wrong. "Ah," she murmured to herself. "Of course." She made one final adjustment, a connection she'd overlooked in her previous attempts. When she sat in the driver's seat this time, she was absolutely certain it would work. She turned the key, and the engine didn't just start. It roared louder than before. The sound was perfect, smooth, powerful. Donna revved it a few times, and the engine responded as if it were brand new. The silence that followed was different from before, not disapproval or doubt, but pure astonishment. "Impossible," Richard whispered. Edward approached the car with tears in his eyes, just like before, just like John used to make it. Donna stepped out of the car and finally smiled. She had done it. Not only had she fixed the engine, but she had honored her father's memory in a way she'd never imagined possible. "How did you do that?" asked one of the younger engineers, now with genuine curiosity instead of mockery. "My father taught me that every engine has its own personality," Donna explained. "This one was always stubborn with strangers but gentle with those who knew it well. I just had to remember how to talk to it." Richard cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. "Well, that was impressive, but now that the show's over, can we get back to the normal party?" "Show?" Edward's voice came out sharp. "Richard, this young woman just did something your entire team couldn't accomplish in 3 decades. Sir, it was luck. A lucky guess. That doesn't mean she knows more than trained engineers." "Luck?" Emily stepped forward again. "Dad, did you hear what she explained? About the engine's personality? That's not luck, that's wisdom." "Emily, you're a teenager. You don't understand these things." "I understand more than you think, and I understand you're being unfair." The argument was growing more tense by the second. Donna realized her presence was causing a rift in the family and felt terrible about it. "Maybe I should go," she said to Edward. "I don't want to cause more trouble." "You're not causing trouble," the older man replied firmly. "You're revealing problems that were already there." Richard turned to the other engineers as if seeking support. "Guys, don't you think this has gone too far? A neighborhood mechanic can't just walk in here and humiliate us like this." But to his surprise, some of the younger engineers didn't seem to be on his side. "Richard," one of them, Michael, spoke up, "maybe we should listen to what she has to say. Clearly there's something we're missing." "Michael, are you questioning our competence?" "I'm questioning our arrogance." The tension in the room was palpable. Donna found herself at the center of a storm she never meant to create. All she wanted was to understand why she'd received that mysterious invitation. "Mr. Edward," she said, "maybe we could talk in private. There are some things I'd like to understand." "Of course, my dear, let's go to my office." Richard tried to intervene. "Mr. Thompson, don't you think it would be more appropriate if I were present, as the chief engineer?" "No, Richard. This is a personal conversation." Edward led Donna to a private elevator that took them to his office on the top floor. The silence between them was heavy with emotion as they rode up. "You know," Edward said as the doors closed, "you have the same eyes as your father, the same determination." "Why did you never reach out before?" Donna asked. "I tried. Your mother was very proud. When I offered financial help after John passed, she refused outright, said she didn't want charity, that she'd raise you on her own." "And she did. She certainly did. You became exactly what John would have wanted. Independent, skilled, honest." Edward's office was elegant yet warm. The walls were covered in old photos, many showing a young man working on cars. Donna recognized her father immediately. "Did he work here?" "Not officially. I was just a young businessman with more ambition than knowledge. John was a mechanic at a gas station, but he was brilliant. When my first car broke down, everyone told me to get a new one. John said he could fix it." Edward sat in the armchair behind his desk and gestured for Donna to do the same. "We became inseparable friends. He taught me about cars. I helped him open his own shop. We went fishing together. Our wives became friends. You used to play on my Martha's lap when you were a baby." Donna felt a wave of emotion. She didn't remember those times. She'd been too young. "What happened?" "John had a heart attack. It was very sudden. He was only 30. And after? Your mother was devastated. She took you and moved to another state. Said she couldn't stay in a place where everything reminded her of him. When I finally tracked you both down years later, your mother had already rebuilt her life. She remarried, had other children. She didn't want to dig up the past. Donna processed the information silently. But how did you know I'd become a mechanic? I have a private investigator who's kept me informed about your life for years. Nothing invasive, just to make sure you were okay. When I found out you'd opened your own shop, I was too proud to put it into words. And today's invitation? When I decided to open the new headquarters, I thought it would be the perfect time for us to finally meet again. But I'll admit I didn't expect you to actually fix the car. Why not? Because even I didn't know what was wrong with it. After John passed, the car never ran right again. Martha and I tried driving it a few times, but it always broke down. The day she lost her earring was the last time we tried. Donna understood everything now. The car wasn't just mechanically broken, it was weighed down by emotional pain. The earring ended up in the system because you were driving when she lost it. Exactly. Martha was fixing herself up in the passenger seat when the car started acting up. In the confusion of trying to figure out what was happening, the earring must have fallen and gotten lodged inside. And you never tried fixing it again? Oh, we did. I called dozens of mechanics over the years. Some could get it running temporarily, but it always broke down again. That's when I decided to turn it into a decorative piece. Donna grew thoughtful. Mr. Edward, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Why did Richard treat me that way? Is it always like that for people like me? Edward sighed deeply. Richard is a good engineer, but he has a pride problem. He believes a college degree equals superiority. He can't accept that hands-on experience is sometimes worth more than theory. And the others? Not all of them think like him. You saw how some of the younger ones were interested in what you had to say, but Richard is influential, and many follow his lead out of convenience. Donna stood and walked to the window. Below, she could see the party still in full swing. Maybe he's right. Maybe I really don't belong here. Why would you say that? Mr. Edward, I'm a neighborhood mechanic. I fix everyday cars for ordinary people. This world, engineers, business people, it's not my place. Who says you have to choose just one world? Donna turned to look at him. What do you mean? Donna, your skill is extraordinary. You have a natural talent that no university can teach, but you're wasting your potential in a small shop. It's not a waste. I help people who need it. And you can keep helping. But you could help even more if you expanded your horizons. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting you work with me. Take a position at the company. Use your knowledge to train the next generation of mechanics. Donna fell silent for a few seconds, processing the offer. And Richard, he'd never accept it. Richard will have to accept it, or find another job. I can't be responsible for someone losing their job. You wouldn't be. He would, because of his own arrogance and prejudice. Donna sat back down, clearly unsettled by the proposal. I need to think. Of course. No rush. But before you decide, I'd like you to come downstairs with me and see some of our projects. It might change your perspective on what we could do together. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. When they returned to the main hall, they found an odd scene. Richard was arguing heatedly with his daughter Emily, while a group of young engineers watched from a distance. What's going on here? Asked Edward. Mr. Thompson. Richard turned around, visibly agitated. My daughter is talking nonsense. She says she wants to drop out of law school to study mechanics. And what's the problem? What do you mean, what's the problem? She's 17, she's smart, she has a bright future ahead of her. She can't throw it all away because of some... He looked at Donna with disdain. Negative influence. Dad, Emily intervened. It's not a negative influence. It's inspiration. For the first time in my life, I see a woman who knows exactly what she's doing, who has confidence in herself and doesn't need any man to validate her skills. Emily, you don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. And I also know that Mrs. Miller solved a problem in 20 minutes that the best engineers in the company couldn't fix in 30 years. Richard turned to Edward for support. Mr. Thompson, you can't let this situation destroy my family. Richard, I'm not destroying anything. Your daughter is simply discovering new interests. New interests? Mechanics isn't an interest, it's a second-class profession. The silence that followed was sharp. Everyone in the room heard Richard's statement, including Donna. Second-class profession. Donna's voice was low but firm. Mr. Anderson, without mechanics, your cars wouldn't run. Without mechanics, your machines wouldn't produce. Without mechanics, the world would stop. But there are levels of qualification. There's a difference between a technician and an engineer. You're right. There is a difference. Engineers design on paper. Mechanics make it work in reality. Several of the younger engineers exchanged glances, clearly impressed by Donna's response. "Ma'am," said Michael, the engineer who had defended Donna earlier, "can I ask a technical question?" "Of course." "How did you know exactly where to look for the problem in the car? Our computer analyses didn't detect that flaw." "Computers analyze data. I listened to the engine. Every engine has its own voice, its own symptoms. I learned to interpret those signs." "And can that be taught?" "It can, but not in a classroom, only by getting your hands dirty." Michael turned to his colleagues. "Guys, do you realize what we're missing? How many problems do we solve in theory that don't work in practice?" "Michael," Richard interrupted, "don't let yourself be impressed by parlor tricks." "Tricks?" Michael pointed to the car, which was still running perfectly. "Is that a trick?" Richard was visibly irritated. "Mr. Thompson, I need to speak with you privately." "You can speak right here." "I'd prefer it to be confidential. I'd prefer it to be public. I'm tired of confidential conversations where important decisions are made without transparency." Richard took a deep breath, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. "Sir, if you're considering bringing this person to work at the company, I need to express my formal disagreement." "On what grounds?" "Professional grounds. She doesn't have the proper education, no experience with complex projects, no knowledge of company protocols." "But she has practical knowledge none of us have," Michael interrupted. "Michael, are you questioning my 15 years of leadership in this company?" "I'm questioning whether our leadership has become obsolete." The tension in the room reached a dangerous peak. Donna realized her presence was causing a serious division in the company and grew increasingly uncomfortable. "Maybe I should leave," she said to Edward. "I don't want to be the cause of conflict." "You're not the cause of conflict," Edward replied firmly. "You're a catalyst for necessary change." "Change?" Richard couldn't hide the panic in his voice. "Mr. Thompson, this company has worked perfectly for decades. Why change something that's working? Is it really working, Richard? How many of our projects have been abandoned due to technical problems we couldn't solve? How many times have we had to hire outside consultants because our in-house knowledge wasn't enough?" Richard fell silent, clearly without an answer. "And how many times," Edward continued, "have we dismissed suggestions from more experienced employees just because they came from people without a college degree?" "Sir, academic credentials are important. They are important, yes, but they aren't everything, and they're definitely not a reason to discard valuable knowledge." Emily approached Donna with eyes shining in admiration. "Mrs. Miller, can you really teach me mechanics?" "Emily," Richard practically shouted, "enough! You're finishing law school and that's final." "Dad, I hate law. I only chose it because you said it's what smart people do." "You'll study law because that's what's planned for your life." "Planned by who? By you? What if I want to plan my own life?" The argument between father and daughter was growing more intense. Donna looked at Edward for guidance. "Maybe we should let them talk as a family," she suggested. "No," Emily said firmly. "This conversation includes me and I want you here." Richard turned to his daughter angrily. "Emily, you're being manipulated. This woman showed up 2 hours ago and is already turning your life upside down." "Dad, no one's manipulating me. For the first time in my life, I see a chance to do something I'm actually interested in." "Mechanics isn't a career for a woman." "Says who?" Donna interjected. "Mr. Anderson, I've worked with cars for 15 years. I support my family, own my own shop, and am respected in my community. Why shouldn't that be a career for a woman?" "Because it's hard, dirty, dangerous work. And engineering isn't. Don't you work on dangerous construction sites? Don't you handle heavy machinery? Don't you get dirty when you need to? Richard had no answer again. The difference, Donna continued, is that when a man gets covered in oil, he's seen as hard-working. When a woman does, she's seen as sloppy. Several guests began clapping timidly. Donna realized she had more support than she'd thought. "Mr. Anderson," she said, "can I make a proposal?" "What proposal?" "Give your daughter a chance. Let her spend one day at my shop just to see. If after that she still wants to stick with law, I promise not to interfere again. And if she decides she really wants mechanics, then you talk as a family and decide together." Richard looked from his daughter to Donna, clearly torn between paternal authority and curiosity about what might happen. "Dad," Emily took his arm, "please, just one day. If I don't like it, I'll never bring it up again. And if you do like it, then we'll talk like a family should." Richard sighed deeply. "Fine, one day. But with conditions." "What conditions?" "First, you stay in school until you make a final decision. Second, I'll come with you on the first day to see exactly what happens in that shop." Donna smiled. "I accept the conditions." Edward stepped closer to the group. "Richard, since we're building bridges, how about discussing my proposal for Donna?" "What proposal?" "Offering her a position at the company." Richard paled. "Mr. Thompson, with all due respect, that would be a mistake." "Why?" Because, Richard stammered, clearly without solid arguments. "Because she's a woman? Because she doesn't have a degree? Because she comes from a different social class?" Edward asked sarcastically. "It's none of that." "Then what is it?" Richard stayed silent for several seconds, obviously wrestling with himself. "It's because she makes me question everything I believe about competence and qualifications," he finally admitted. The silence that followed was different from before. It was a silence of understanding, of recognizing a hard truth. "Richard," Edward said softly, "questioning our prejudices isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of growth. But sir, if we start hiring people without proper training, we're not talking about hiring just anyone. We're talking about recognizing exceptional talent wherever it appears." Donna felt moved by Edward's defense, but also worried about the implications. "Mr. Edward, may I suggest something?" "Of course. How about we start slow? Instead of a formal hire, what about a partnership? I could offer occasional consulting, train some employees, help with specific projects, and keep your shop?" "Yes. I don't want to abandon my community. They depend on me." Edward smiled. "That shows exactly the kind of character I look for in a partner." "Partner?" Richard couldn't hide his surprise. "Yes, Richard. Partner. Donna wouldn't just be an employee. She'd be a minority stakeholder in the company." The impact of the statement was immediate. Several engineers began whispering among themselves, some clearly shocked, others impressed. "Mr. Thompson," said Michael, "this is revolutionary." "It's necessary, Michael. This company needs to evolve or it'll be left behind." Richard took a few steps back, visibly shaken. "Sir, I need some time to process all this." "Of course. But, Richard, I hope you reflect on what happened here today. It's not about humiliating anyone. It's about recognizing value where it exists." Richard nodded and walked away, taking some of the older engineers with him. But Donna noticed most of the younger ones stayed. "Mrs. Miller," one of them said, "can I ask you a question about the car?" "Of course." "How did you learn to listen to engines like that?" "My father taught me when I was little. He said every engine was like a person. It had moods, personality, quirks. Learning to listen was like learning to have a conversation." "And can that be taught to us?" "It can, but not the way you're used to learning. It's not theory, it's practice. It's getting your hands dirty, trying and failing, developing intuition. How long would it take? Depends on the person. Some have a natural ear, others need more training. But everyone can learn the basics." Michael turned to his colleagues. "Guys, do you realize what this means? We can finally connect our theoretical knowledge to real, practical application." "Exactly. Edward agreed. That's what this company needs. That's what the market needs. Donna felt energized by the younger engineer's openness. It was a completely different feeling from the initial hostility. "Can I tell you a story?" she asked. "Of course," several said in unison. "A few years ago, a customer brought a car to my shop. It was an expensive import that had been to 5 different mechanics. They'd all run expensive diagnostics, replaced parts, messed with the electronics. Nothing worked. And you found the problem?" "I did. It was a grain of sand in the fuel system. Something microscopic no equipment had detected. But I heard it. The engine was whispering that something was scratching inside." "How did you hear that?" "I put my hand on the engine while it was running. I felt the vibration. Every vibration tells a different story." "And how did you learn that?" "By practicing. Hours and hours with my hand on different engines, learning each one's language." Michael exchanged glances with his colleagues. "Mrs. Miller, how many of us do you think you could train at once?" "That depends. How many are truly willing to learn? I'm not talking about casual curiosity. I'm talking about getting your hands dirty, admitting you don't know everything, starting from the basics in some areas." "I'm in," Michael said immediately. "Me too," said another. "And me," said a third. Within minutes, 8 of the 12 young engineers present had expressed interest. "Impressive," murmured Edward. "Donna, you've achieved in 2 hours what I couldn't in years, sparking genuine passion for hands-on learning. Mr. Edward, may I suggest we start with a pilot project? I'll take a few of these engineers for experimental training. If it works, we expand." "Excellent idea. What kind of project do you have in mind?" Donna looked around the room, her eyes landing on the car that still ran perfectly. "How about restoring more vintage cars? There are plenty of people out there with classic cars sitting idle, not knowing how to fix them. We could create a community restoration program." "Brilliant," exclaimed Michael. "We could combine modern techniques with traditional knowledge." "Exactly. You bring technical analysis, and I bring practical experience." Emily approached the group, still emotional. "Can I join too?" "Emily," Donna smiled. "First you need to learn the basics. We'll take it slow." "But can I be part of the project?" "If your father allows it, of course." Everyone turned to see Richard, who had returned and was listening from a distance. His expression was no longer angry but thoughtful and confused. "Richard," called Edward, "care to join the discussion?" Richard walked over slowly. "Mr. Thompson, I've been thinking about what happened here today, and I need to admit something." "What?" "That I'm afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of discovering my knowledge isn't as complete as I thought. Of admitting a woman without a degree might know things I don't. Of accepting I may have missed learning opportunities because of pure prejudice." Donna felt a wave of empathy for Richard. She recognized in him the fear many people have of confronting their own limitations. "Mr. Richard," she said gently, "it's not about knowing more or less. It's about knowing different complementary things." "How so?" "You understand structural engineering, calculations, complex designs. I understand practical mechanics, creative solutions, hands-on work. Separately, we each have limitations. Together, we can solve problems neither of us could alone." Richard was silent for a few seconds. You'd really believe in a collaboration like that, even after how I treated you?" "I do. And I understand why you treated me that way. It wasn't personal, it was fear of the unknown." "It was personal, and it was wrong." Richard took a deep breath. "I apologize." Donna extended her hand. "Apology accepted, and I offer a partnership." Richard looked at her outstretched hand, then at his daughter, who watched him hopefully. "I accept the partnership," he said, shaking Donna's hand. "And I accept my daughter exploring this career path, if it's what she truly wants." Emily ran to hug her father. "Thank you, Dad, you won't regret it." "I hope not," Richard said with a reluctant smile. Edward clapped to get everyone's attention. "Folks, I think we have the start of something revolutionary here. A new way to integrate theoretical and practical knowledge, to bridge generations, to break down social and professional barriers. The applause was spontaneous and enthusiastic. Donna felt moved seeing the transformation that had happened in just hours. "When do we start?" asked Michael. "How about next week?" suggested Donna. "I'll check the workshop, organize the space for you all, and we'll start with the basics." "What about me?" asked Emily. "You start on the weekend, we'll take it slow, remembering you still have college." "Actually," Richard intervened, "may I suggest she takes a semester off from college to have a full experience and decide with confidence?" Donna was surprised by the suggestion. "Are you sure, sir?" "I am. If she's going to make an important decision about her future, let it be an informed one." Emily hugged her father again, visibly moved. "Dad, thank you for trusting me." "I'm not just trusting you. I'm trusting Donna too." Donna felt the weight of responsibility, but also a deep emotion. She was about to change not only her own life, but potentially the lives of many others. "Mr. Edward," she said, "may I make a request?" "Of course. I'd like this project to not just be about mechanics. I'd like it to be about inclusion, about opportunities for people who normally wouldn't have access to advanced technical knowledge." "How so?" "I want to open spots for young people in my community, boys and girls who have talent but lack the resources to study engineering. Give them a chance to learn a respectable trade." Edward smiled broadly. "Donna, you've just defined our company's social mission for the next few years. Is that possible? Not just possible, but necessary. I'll allocate a specific budget for this program, and I'll help with the educational side," offered Michael. "I can develop a curriculum that combines theory and practice." "And I can help with organization," said Emily. "I have good ideas on how to recruit talented youth." Donna looked around and saw excited faces, plans forming, dreams taking shape. It was more than she'd ever imagined when she woke up that morning. "Everyone," she said, "I need to be honest with you. I don't know if I can meet all the expectations being set." "No one expects perfection," Edward replied. "We expect dedication, honesty, and a willingness to teach. And you clearly have that. Besides," Richard added, "you won't be alone. We'll learn together." Donna smiled, finally allowing herself to believe this was really happening. "Then let's get started. But first I need to go home and explain to my family that my life has just completely changed." "Will your family support you?" Emily asked. "They will. They've always supported my dreams, no matter how crazy they seemed." "And what are your dreams now?" Edward asked. Donna looked at the car that was still running perfectly, at the people around her watching with respect and admiration, at the possibilities unfolding before her. "My dream is to prove that knowledge has no social class, that talent has no gender, and that together we can solve problems we never could alone." The applause was long and warm. For the first time in her life, Donna felt truly seen and valued for who she really was. "Well," Edward said, "I think we have a lot to plan. How about we schedule a formal meeting for next week?" "Perfect," Donna agreed. "And today?" Michael asked. "We can't wait a week to start learning." Donna laughed. "Today, you can start by asking the most important question of all." "What question?" "Why did this car work for me and not for you?" The engineers exchanged glances, clearly intrigued. "It wasn't just about technique," Donna continued. "It was about approach. You tried to fix the car, I tried to understand it." "What's the difference?" one of them asked. "Fixing implies something is wrong and needs to be forced to work. Understanding implies something has reasons for not working and needs to be heard. And how do we listen to an engine? With patience, with respect, and above all, without rushing to show we know more than it does." Richard shook his head in admiration. "Donna, you're not just a mechanic. You're a philosopher. I'm a woman who learned that machines, just like people, respond better when treated with kindness than with force." The group fell silent, absorbing the depth of the observation. "All right," Edward finally said. "Now I'm convinced this partnership is going to work out great." "Me too," Richard agreed, "and I apologize again for almost ruining everything with my arrogance." "Richard," Donna said, "your initial resistance wasn't just arrogance, it was protection. You were protecting something you value. That shows you care, and people who care can learn to change. Thank you for seeing it that way. It's the only way to see it. We all have prejudices. We all have fears. What matters is being willing to confront them when needed. Emily stepped closer to Donna. Mrs. Miller, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. How do you find the strength to forgive people who hurt you? Donna thought for a few seconds before answering. Emily, holding on to resentment is like carrying rust in your heart. It doesn't hurt the one who wronged us. It hurts us. It's better to clean off the rust and let your heart shine again. Is it hard? Sometimes. But it's always worth it. Edward approached Donna with an emotional expression. You know, Donna, your father would be so proud to see the woman you've become. You think so? I'm sure of it. John always said you'd be special, that you'd change the lives of those around you. And today, you proved him right. Donna felt tears in her eyes. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for accepting, for having the courage to step into a hostile environment and stay true to yourself. It wasn't courage, it was necessity. I needed to understand why I got that invitation. And now you do. I do. And I'm ready to honor the trust you've placed in me. Donna, Richard joined the conversation. Can I make a promise? What promise? I promise I'll do everything to make you feel welcome in this company, that I'll learn from you as much as I hope you'll learn from us. I accept your promise. And I'll make one too. What is it? I promise to treat everyone with the same respect I'd want for myself, no matter their background, position, or experience. Deal. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. The event was coming to an end, but Donna knew this was just the beginning of a much bigger journey. As she watched people chatting excitedly about future projects, she felt a sense of fulfillment she'd never experienced before. Mrs. Miller, Emily approached her again. Can I ask for some advice? Of course. How do I know for sure I'm making the right decision about my future? Donna smiled, remembering her own doubts when she was younger. Emily, there's no such thing as a completely right or wrong decision. There are decisions we make with courage and decisions we make out of fear. The first kind, even when they don't work out, teach us something valuable. The second kind, even when they do work, leave us feeling like we could have done better. And how do I know if I'm deciding with courage or fear? Ask yourself, does this decision bring me closer to or further from who I really am? Emily grew thoughtful. What if I don't really know who I am? Then you try, you make mistakes, you learn and you try again. That's how we find ourselves. Did you always know you wanted to be a mechanic? No. I knew I wanted to work with my hands, to solve problems, to help people. Mechanics was just the path I found to do all that. And what if I discover mechanics isn't for me? Then you'll have learned something important about yourself, and you'll look for another path. The important thing is not to stop searching. Richard, who had overheard the conversation, approached. Donna, thank you for giving my daughter this advice. As a father, sometimes I get so caught up in protecting her that I forget to guide her. All parents do that. It's natural to want to protect those we love. But too much protection can become a prison, can't it? It can. The trick is finding the balance between giving security and giving freedom. How did you learn these things? That's a lot of wisdom for someone your age. Donna laughed. It's not wisdom, Richard. It's experience. I've been through a lot in life, made plenty of wrong decisions, learned the hard way. That teaches you more than any book. What about your parents? How did they react when you decided to become a mechanic? Donna grew a little sad. My father passed away when I was very young. My mother, at first she was worried. She thought I was needlessly choosing a hard life. And later, she saw I was happy doing what I did. That I had talent. That I was able to support my family and help others. Then she started supporting me. Did your children follow the same path? I have 2 kids. The oldest is studying business, wants to help manage the shop. The youngest is still in high school, but I think she'll go into something completely different. And does that bother you? No, I want them to be happy and fulfilled. If that happens in mechanics, great. If it happens in another field, that's great too. Emily smiled. Dad, are you listening? That's what I want. Someone who supports me no matter what choice I make. Richard sighed. All right, sweetheart. You have my support. Just be patient with me while I learn to be less controlling. Thank you, Dad. Edward joined the family group. Richard, can I make a suggestion? Of course, sir. How about you also join the training program Donna is developing, not as the boss, but as a student? Richard seemed surprised by the suggestion. Me? But I'm the lead engineer. So, does that stop you from learning new things? Richard looked at Donna. Would you take me as a student? Of course. In the shop, we're all equal. It doesn't matter what title you have outside. And you wouldn't treat me differently because I was difficult today? Richard, today you acknowledged your mistakes and apologized. To me, that already changes everything. Richard extended his hand again. Then it's settled. I'll be your first student. Actually, Michael said, I volunteered first. We can all be first students, Donna suggested with a laugh. The shop is big enough. Donna, Edward said, I have a practical question. Does your current shop have space for the program we're planning? It's enough to start, but if we're really going to train dozens of people, we'll need to expand. No problem. The company can rent or buy a bigger space, or even build a training center. Mr. Edward, I don't want this to turn into something too grand. I want to keep the simple, family-like spirit. Of course, but simple doesn't mean small. We can have a big space that still feels welcoming. Donna nodded. What about the young people in the community? How will we select them? Leave that to me, Emily said. I can do field work, visit schools, talk to teachers, identify talent. And I can help with technical criteria, Michael offered. Perfect, we'll form a multidisciplinary team from the start. Richard looked thoughtful. Donna, can I suggest we also include older folks in the program? Experienced workers who never had the chance to get formal training. Donna was impressed by the idea. Richard, that's excellent. There are so many people with valuable hands-on knowledge who could benefit from theoretical foundations. And we can benefit from their practical knowledge. Exactly. It would be a true exchange. Edward clapped his hands enthusiastically. Everyone, do you realize what we're creating here? This isn't just a training program. It's a model for social and professional inclusion. It's a model of how different people can collaborate for better results, added Donna. And proof that prejudices can be overcome with goodwill, said Richard. Dad? Emily hugged him. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of myself too, Richard admitted, and I'm eager to see where this leads. Donna checked her watch and noticed it was already late afternoon. Everyone, I need to go. My family must be wondering where I am. Of course, said Edward, but first I'd like to formalize our partnership. How so? I'd like you to sign a preliminary contract. Nothing final yet, but something to ensure we'll work together over the next few months. Is it necessary? For me, yes, I want to be sure you won't change your mind. Donna smiled. I won't change my mind. But if a contract makes you feel better, no problem. Edward called his personal assistant. Jennifer, prepare a consulting contract for Donna, 3 months initially with renewal options. Compensation, leave it open for now, we'll discuss it later. Mr. Edward, Donna said, about compensation. What is it? I can't accept more than I deserve, and I also can't leave my community without service. I need an arrangement that lets me keep working at the shop too. No problem. We can do part-time here, part-time there, or a few days a week, whatever works for you. Thank you for the flexibility. Donna, you're doing us a favor, not the other way around. Richard stepped closer. Donna, can I suggest something about the schedule? Of course. How about we start on Saturdays? That way it won't interfere with your weekday work and we can fully dedicate ourselves to learning. Great idea. Saturdays are perfect. And during the week, you can do occasional consulting when we need it, Michael suggested. Perfect. Edward watched the plan coming together naturally and smiled in satisfaction. Everyone, I think we have the start of something truly special here. Mr. Edward, Donna said, Can I make one final request? Of course. When we tell this story to others, let's tell the whole truth, including the hard parts, the prejudices, the mistakes, so it serves as an example that change is possible. Why is that important to you? Because I want others to know you don't have to be perfect to make a difference, that we all have limitations, but we can overcome them when we work together. Richard nodded vigorously. I agree, and that includes my part in the story, how I nearly ruined everything out of pride and prejudice. Richard, Donna said, your story is the most important of all, because it shows that people can change, that it's never too late to admit mistakes and do better. Thank you for seeing it that way. It's the only way to see it. Everyone deserves second chances. Emily impulsively hugged Donna. Thank you for changing our family. I didn't change anything, Emily. You all chose to change, but you showed us change was possible. Donna was moved by the young woman's gratitude. Emily, I hope you learn a lot from the program, but even more, I hope you teach a lot too. How can I teach when I don't know anything yet? You know more than you think. You know how to question, how to dream, how to fight for what you believe in. That's very valuable. And will you teach me mechanics too? I will, but mostly I'll teach you how to think like a mechanic, to observe, to listen, to be patient. I can't wait, Michael said goodbye to the group. Donna, I'll start preparing teaching materials for our sessions. Any suggestions? Less talk, more action. The best way to learn mechanics is by working on real engines. Noted. What about tools? I'll make a list of what we need. Nothing too fancy at first. Basic but good quality. Perfect. Edward walked Donna to the exit. Donna, I can't express how happy I am about what happened today. Me too, Mr. Edward. It still feels like a dream. It's not a dream. It's reality. A reality you made possible. We made it possible. Alone, I wouldn't have achieved anything. That humility is further proof I made the right decision. Donna smiled and headed for the door. When she reached it, she turned one last time to look at the hall. The car was still there, running perfectly. A symbol that seemingly impossible problems can have surprising solutions. Richard approached her. Donna, may I walk you to your car? Of course. They walked silently to the parking lot. When they reached Donna's car, a simple but well-kept Honda Civic, Richard stopped. Donna, I need to thank you. Thank me for what? For not giving up on me. For seeing past my initial arrogance. Richard, we all have bad moments. What matters is how we react when we realize we're wrong. You're very generous. I'm not generous. I'm practical. Holding grudges solves nothing. It only gets in the way. Richard laughed. Another valuable lesson. Richard, can I give you some advice? Of course. Be patient with yourself during this process. Changing mental habits takes time. Don't expect immediate perfection. Thank you. I'll remember that. Donna got in the car and started the engine. It ran perfectly on the first try. See you Saturday, she said through the window. See you Saturday. And Donna, thank you for coming into our lives. Donna waved and drove off, leaving Richard thoughtful in the parking lot. On her way home, Donna reflected on everything that had happened. That morning, she was just a neighborhood mechanic with a simple, predictable life. Now she was about to become a partner at an engineering firm and lead an innovative social inclusion program. It wasn't just her life that had changed. It was her perspective on what was possible, on how different people could connect, on how seemingly insurmountable barriers could be broken with patience and goodwill. When she got home, her family was eagerly waiting for news. "Mom," said her eldest son, Ryan, 19, "what's this about a mysterious invitation?" "It's a long story," Donna smiled. "Sit down and I'll tell you everything." And she did. Every detail, every emotion, every twist. Her family listened in silence, sometimes amazed, sometimes concerned, but always proud. "Mom," said her daughter Madison, 16, "you're becoming a partner at a big company." "It's still provisional, but yes, it's a real possibility." "What about our shop?" Ryan asked. "It'll keep running. In fact, it'll grow. We'll use it as the base for the training program. Need help? Ryan offered. I will, a lot. Are you both in? Of course, they answered in unison. Donna's mother, Angela, had stayed quiet the whole time. Now she approached her daughter with tears in her eyes. Donna, your father would be so proud. Mom, he's the one who taught me everything. This opportunity exists because he planted the seeds when I was a child. And you knew how to make them grow. With your help, Mom. You taught me to be strong, independent, to never give up on my dreams. And now your dreams are coming true. They're just beginning to. Angela hugged her daughter. Just be careful not to lose yourself in all this change. I won't get lost, Mom. I'll find myself even more. How can you be so sure? Because for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm meant to do. Then I'm at peace. That night, Donna had trouble sleeping. Not from worry, but from excitement. There were so many possibilities, so many plans, so many lives that could be changed. She got up and went to the workshop at the back of the house. She turned on the lights and walked among the tools, the parts, the cars waiting for repair. All of it was part of who she was, and now it was going to take on a much bigger meaning. She sat on the workbench where she had learned her first mechanical concepts and closed her eyes. She could almost hear her father's voice, that patient and affectionate tone he used to explain every process. Donna, remember how I always said you were special? That one day you'd make a difference in so many people's lives? Donna smiled in the darkness. I remember, Dad, and I think that day has finally come. A gentle breeze came through the open window, swaying the curtains. Donna took it as a sign of approval. I won't let you down, or the people who are trusting me. She went back inside with a peaceful heart and a mind full of plans. The following week, her real adventure would begin. In the days that followed, Donna worked hard to prepare. She reorganized the workshop, made a list of necessary materials, and studied techniques she hadn't practiced in a long time. Richard called twice with questions about the program. In both conversations, he was respectful and cooperative, a complete change from their first meeting. Michael sent an email with curriculum proposals that impressed Donna with their quality and understanding of practical needs. Emily showed up at the workshop on Thursday, eager to start the fieldwork in selecting young talents. Mrs. Miller, I spoke with 3 schools in the area. The principals are excited about the possibility. How many students showed interest? Over 50. Wow, I wasn't expecting that many. I told them it was just a pilot program that we'd start with a few students, but the interest was huge anyway. And what criteria did you use to spark their interest? I talked about the opportunity to learn a valued trade, to work with their hands, to solve real problems, and most of all about the chance to have a dignified career without needing money for college. Donna was impressed by Emily's maturity. You understood the spirit of the program perfectly. I learned from you. And your father? How is he reacting to the preparations? He's excited. Last night he spent the whole evening reading about teaching techniques for adults. He wants to be prepared to be a good student. Donna laughed. What an incredible change. He said you made him realize that learning is more important than pretending to already know everything. Your father is a smart man. He just needed a little push to step out of his comfort zone. And now he's completely out of it, but he's enjoying it. On Friday, the day before the first official meeting, Edward paid a surprise visit to Donna's workshop. Mr. Edward, Donna was surprised to see him. What brings you here? I wanted to see your workspace to better understand where your wisdom comes from. Donna showed him the workshop with pride. It was simple, but organized and functional. Every tool had its place, every space had its purpose. Impressive, Edward murmured. It's just like John's workshop. You've been here before? Many times. Your father worked here during the last years of his life. Donna was moved. I didn't know that. After he opened his own shop, we still met here. I'd bring my cars, he'd teach me about engines, we'd talk about life. Edward gently touched one of the workbenches. It was at this workbench that he first taught me how to change the oil. I was 30 years old and didn't even know how to open the hood of a car. And did you learn? I did. I didn't become an expert, but I learned the basics. And most importantly, I learned to respect those who do this work. Donna understood even better why Edward had created that opportunity. Mr. Edward, you're trying to honor my father's memory, aren't you? I'm trying to honor a friend who taught me that true knowledge doesn't come with a diploma or a social class, and I'm trying to create opportunities he would have wanted to create. He'd be happy. He'd be proud, especially of you. Donna showed Edward the preparations for the program, the reorganized space, sorted tools, and basic teaching materials. It's perfect, he said. Simple, functional, welcoming. It's what I know how to do. I don't understand luxury or sophistication. And you don't need to. What you have is far more valuable, authenticity. Mr. Edward, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you sure this program will work? Aren't you risking the company's reputation too much? Edward smiled. Donna, at 80 years old, I've learned that the biggest risks are the ones we don't take. This company needs renewal, fresh blood, new perspectives. You're the catalyst we've been waiting for. What if I fail? You won't, but even if you did, we'd learn something valuable in the process. You're very optimistic. I'm realistic, and the reality is, you've already proven your competence. Now you just need to expand your reach. Donna felt more confident with Edward's words. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for accepting the challenge. On Saturday morning, Donna arrived at the workshop at 7 to make the final preparations. By 8 sharp, her first students began to arrive. Richard was the first, accompanied by Emily. He arrived punctually, dressed simply, with a nervous expression Donna found endearing. Good morning, Professor, he said with a shy smile. Good morning, Richard. Ready to get your hands dirty? Ready, or at least I'm trying to be. Michael arrived next, along with 5 other engineers. They all seemed eager and curious. By 9, Donna had 12 students in the workshop, 7 company engineers, Emily, and 4 young people from the community who had been selected the week before. Everyone, Donna called for their attention. Before we begin, I want to set some ground rules. They all listened closely. First rule, there's no hierarchy here. It doesn't matter if you're a senior engineer or a high school student. Everyone's a learner, and everyone deserves respect. Second rule, don't be afraid to ask questions. No matter how basic it seems, if you don't understand, ask. Third rule, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. What matters is learning from them. Fourth rule, help each other. If you know more, teach those who know less. If you know less, don't be ashamed to ask for help. And fifth rule, have fun. Mechanics can be fun when you understand what you're doing. The students nodded in agreement. Now let's start with the most basic of basics, getting to know an engine. Donna led the group to an old car she had set aside for the lessons. This is a 2003 Chevy Sonic, a 1.0 engine, simple, sturdy, perfect for learning. Let's pop the hood, and each of you will tell me what you see. One by one, the students observed and described. Donna was impressed by the different perspectives. The engineers named technical components, the community youths noticed practical details, and Emily asked questions about functionality. Very good. Now, I'll teach you the first lesson, how to listen to an engine. Listen? Asked one of the engineers. Yes, every engine speaks. It has its own voice. When she's healthy, she speaks one way. When she has problems, she speaks another. Donna turned on the car and asked everyone to gather around. Close your eyes and listen. What sounds do you hear? The sound of the engine running, said Richard. Yes, but what kind of sound? Is it steady? Are there variations? Any strange noises? Gradually, the students began noticing nuances they'd previously overlooked. There's a little irregular ticking, observed one of the young men from the community, John. Excellent, John, that's right. And what could that ticking mean? I don't know. Valve issues. Let's open the engine and check. Over the next 2 hours, Donna guided the group through a complete engine analysis. Each component was explained not just technically but functionally. What it does, how it works, how to spot problems. Richard seemed especially interested in the diagnostic part. Donna, at our company, we use sophisticated equipment for diagnostics, but your methods are far more intuitive. They're complementary, Richard. Machines catch problems I might miss, but experience catches problems machines can't interpret. How so? A machine might say oil pressure is normal, but only experience can tell if the engine's burning too much oil due to micro leaks. And how do you notice that? By the smell, the sound, the exhaust smoke color. Signs no machine can evaluate together. Michael took extensive notes. Donna, this is fascinating. You're describing holistic diagnostics. I don't know what that means, but if it's about seeing the whole instead of just the parts, then yes. Exactly. It's an approach we've tried to implement in engineering without much success. Because you're trying to implement it with your head, you have to use your whole body. Eyes, ears, nose, touch, everything works together. Emily raised her hand. Miss Donna, can I try diagnosing a problem? Of course, I'll give you a case. Donna started another car, this one with obvious engine trouble. Emily, tell me what's wrong. The young woman approached the car, popped the hood and listened carefully. The engine's misfiring. It sounds like one of the spark plugs isn't working. How do you figure that out? The sound is uneven, like one cylinder isn't firing right, and you can feel a weird vibration in the engine. Donna smiled proudly. Perfect. You've got a natural instinct. Really? Really. Now let's check the spark plugs and confirm. When they opened the ignition system, they found exactly what Emily had diagnosed, a burnt spark plug. Wow, the young woman exclaimed. I got it right. You did. And know why? Because you trusted your senses instead of overthinking. Richard watched his daughter with pride and surprise. Emily, that was impressive. Thanks, Dad. I guess I've got a knack for this. During the snack break, Donna observed the students' interactions. The engineers were clearly impressed by the community youth's intuition. The youths were fascinated by the engineers' technical knowledge, and everyone was collaborating naturally. Donna, Richard approached. Can I share an observation? Of course. This integration is working better than I imagined. I thought there'd be more communication barriers between people with such different backgrounds. Why do you think that? My own bias. I assumed they wouldn't have much in common. Richard, genuine interest is a universal language. When people truly want to learn, differences become advantages. How so? The engineers bring solid theory. The youths bring curiosity and no bad habits. Emily brings energy and a questioning spirit. You bring leadership experience. Everyone contributes something unique. And you? What do you bring? I just help connect all these different areas of knowledge. Richard smiled. You're being too modest. You're doing much more than just helping. In the second part of the morning, Donna taught practical techniques, how to use basic tools, how to disassemble components without damaging them, how to organize parts so nothing gets lost. John, one of the young men from the community, showed a special knack for working with his hands. John, have you worked with mechanics before? A little. My uncle has a small shop. I help out sometimes. And why were you interested in this program? I want to learn the technical side. I know how to do things, but I don't know how to explain why they work. And why is that important to you? Because I want to open my own shop one day, and I want to be respected as a professional, not just someone who patches things up. Donna felt an instant connection with John. She saw in him the same determination she'd had in her youth. John, can I make you an offer? Sure. How about becoming my assistant in this program? Helping with the classes, learning more advanced techniques alongside me? The young man was visibly moved. Really? You'd do that? I would. You have natural talent and the right attitude. You just need an opportunity. I accept. When can I start? You already have. Richard observed the interaction and stepped closer. Donna, may I suggest John also join the program planning meetings? His perspective would be valuable. Excellent idea. John could hardly believe what he was hearing. You're serious? We are, Donna and Richard said together. Thank you. You won't regret it. I'm sure we won't, Donna replied. At the end of the morning, Donna gathered all the students for feedback. Everyone, what did you think of the first class? Amazing, said Michael. I learned more about practical diagnostics in 4 hours than in years of theoretical training. I loved the part about listening to the engine, said Emily. I never imagined machines could talk. For me, it was perfect, John said. I finally understood why some of the things I did actually worked. Richard was the last to speak. Donna, I have to admit, I had low expectations. I thought it would be amateur teaching, but it was the opposite. It was professional instruction of the highest quality, just with a different method. Thank you. And for all of you, what's the next step? We want to keep going, several said in unison. Great. Next week we'll work on transmissions. Bring clothes you don't mind getting dirty. Donna, Michael asked, can I bring more colleagues? I have 2 engineers who got interested when I told them about today. Of course, but let's keep the group small so we don't lose quality. Perfect. After everyone left, Donna stayed alone in the workshop, reflecting on the morning. It had gone better than her most optimistic expectations. Ryan, her son, appeared at the shop. So, Mum, how'd it go? Wonderful, son. Couldn't have been better. Everyone got along. Better than that, they became a team. And you? How do you feel? Donna thought for a few seconds. I feel like I've finally found my life's purpose. That's dramatic, Ryan laughed. But seriously, you look radiant. It's just, for the first time, I feel like I'm using all my talents at once. Technical knowledge, teaching ability, people skills, all together. And now, what's next? Expand gradually. Train more people, develop the program, maybe even create a model that can be replicated elsewhere. Mom, you're thinking big. I'm thinking necessary. There are so many talented people out there who just need a chance. What about us? How do we fit in? You're essential. I'll need help with organization, logistics, maybe even basic teaching. Count me in. Thank you, son. On Monday, Donna received a call from Edward. Donna, I heard the first class was an absolute success. Who told you that? Richard. He can't stop talking about the program. Said it was one of the richest learning experiences of his life. That's wonderful. He was an excellent student. And the young people from the community? Impressive. They have a thirst for knowledge that's truly inspiring. Donna, I have a proposal for you. What proposal? I want to accelerate the program's expansion, hire more instructors, reach more students, create partnerships with other companies. Donna was silent for a few seconds. Mr. Edward, I don't want the program to lose its essence by growing too fast. I understand. That's why I want you to lead the expansion. Keep the original values, but broaden the reach. What does that mean? It means you'd become the director of a new department in the company, practical talent development. Donna nearly dropped the phone. Mr. Edward, that's a huge responsibility. It's a responsibility you've already proven you can handle. I need to think about it. Of course, but don't take too long. Other companies are interested in similar models. I'd rather you be the pioneer. Other companies? Michael told his colleagues at other firms about the program. The interest was immediate. Donna felt a mix of pride and apprehension. Mr. Edward, can I make a counteroffer? Of course. Let's solidify the pilot program before expanding. I want to make sure our methodology is truly strong. How much time do you need? 6 months. By then, we'll have concrete data on effectiveness, satisfaction, and practical results. Agreed. But use those 6 months to also develop teaching materials and train other instructors. Deal. After hanging up, Donna sat on the workshop bench to process the conversation. She was about to become an executive at a company. Her, who had started as a neighborhood mechanic. Her phone rang. It was Emily. Mrs. Donna, I have news. What news? I talked to 3 more schools. The interest is huge, and there's something even better. What? Two schools want to include practical mechanics modules in their regular curriculum as an elective. That's fantastic. And there's more. One of the principals wants to talk to you about creating a technical course in partnership with Mr. Edwards' company. Donna was speechless. Emily, are you sure you're just a first-year law student? You sound like a seasoned executive. It's because I'm doing something I'm truly passionate about. That makes all the difference. And your father? How is he reacting to all this involvement? He's proud. Yesterday he said he's never seen me so determined and focused. What about your law studies? I'm keeping up for now, like I promised. But every day it becomes clearer that my heart is really in mechanics. Emily, don't make hasty decisions. Give yourself time to be sure. Mrs. Donna, can I confess something? Of course. Ever since I was little, I knew law wasn't for me, but I never had the courage to go against my father. You gave me that courage. I didn't give you courage, you always had it. I just helped you find it. Either way, what matters is that now I know I can choose my own life. And that's the most valuable lesson of all. In the following weeks, the program developed surprisingly well. More engineers joined, more young people from the community were selected, and partnerships with schools began to take shape. Richard became one of the most dedicated students, always punctual, always prepared, always willing to help his peers. John proved not only technically talented, but also an excellent communicator, able to translate complex concepts into simple language. Michael developed teaching materials that innovatively combined theory and practice. And Emily blossomed in a way that surprised even Donna. The young woman showed a natural talent for organization, leadership, and communication. By the third month of the program, Donna received an unexpected visit. It was Martha, Edward's daughter, who had just returned from a work trip abroad. "You must be the famous Donna," Martha said with a smile. "My father won't stop talking about you." "I hope it's all good things," Donna laughed. "Only good things. He says you've brought a new energy to the company. It's your family who gave me opportunities I never dreamed I'd have. Can I see the program? I'm curious to know what's causing so much excitement." Donna took Martha to a hands-on session that was underway. It was Saturday morning and the workshop was full. 15 students divided into 3 groups, each working on different projects. Martha watched silently for a few minutes, clearly impressed by the dynamic. "Amazing," she murmured. "I've never seen engineers from our company so engaged in hands-on learning." "It's because they've finally found a way to apply theoretical knowledge in real life," Donna explained. "And the young people from the community, how's the integration going?" Donna pointed to John, who was explaining a transmission concept to 2 engineers. "See for yourself." Martha kept watching the scene, visibly moved. "My father always talked about breaking social barriers, but I've never seen it happen so naturally. It happens when the focus is on learning, not differences." "Donna, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course." "How does it feel to be responsible for so much change?" Donna thought for a few seconds. "Honestly, sometimes I feel overwhelmed. It's a lot of responsibility, but most of the time, I feel privileged to be part of it." "And you're not afraid of failing?" "I am, but I'm more afraid of not trying." Martha smiled. "Now I understand why my father admires you so much. Your father is an extraordinary man. He gave me chances no one else would. He says the same about you, that you brought possibilities he never even imagined." Just then, Emily approached them. "Mrs. Miller, may I interrupt? We have a situation." "What's wrong?" "One of the young men from the community, Mark, is having trouble at home. His father lost his job and they're thinking of pulling him from the program so he can work." Donna grew concerned. "What can we do?" "I was thinking, what if we offered him a scholarship, a monthly stipend to help his family and let him stay in the program?" Martha joined the conversation. "Sorry to intrude, but I couldn't help overhearing. How old is this young man?" 17, Emily replied. "And how's his performance in the program?" "Excellent," Donna said. "He's one of the most dedicated and talented." "Then we have a solution," Martha said. The company can hire him as a junior apprentice. He'll earn a salary, stay in the program, and gain formal work experience. Donna was surprised by how quickly the solution came. Is that possible? It's possible and legal. Junior apprenticeship is a hiring model that benefits both the young person and the company. And would Mr. Thompson approve? He'll love the idea. In fact, we could extend this to other young people in the program. Emily was thrilled. That would be incredible. We could ensure no talented young person has to drop out because of money. Exactly, Martha agreed. And the company gains young, motivated and already trained employees. Donna felt emotional at how quickly problems were being solved. You two are amazing. In 5 minutes you found a solution I didn't even know existed. That's the power of teamwork, Martha said. Everyone brings their own expertise. Donna Miller, said Emily, can I suggest we include this possibility in the program permanently as one of the options for young people in socially vulnerable situations? Of course. But let's talk to your father and Mr. Edward first before formalizing it. Speaking of formalization, Martha chimed in again, have you thought about documenting this entire methodology? What do you mean? Writing a manual, creating protocols, systematizing the knowledge, so it can be replicated elsewhere. Donna hadn't considered that. Would it be important? It would be essential. You're creating something innovative. If you don't document it, the knowledge stays limited to those directly involved. But I don't have experience with formal documentation. I do, Martha offered. I've worked in process development for years. I can help systematize your methodology. You'd do that? Happily. This project has the potential to impact thousands of lives. Donna fell silent, absorbing the magnitude of what was being proposed. Everyone, she finally said, when I woke up that Saturday morning 3 months ago, I never imagined I'd be having this conversation today. And now? Emily asked. Do you regret it? Regret it? Donna laughed. I've never felt more fulfilled in my life. Then let's move forward, said Martha. Let's turn this project into a national model. National? Donna was startled. Isn't that too ambitious? Donna, Martha said seriously, you have no idea the impact this program could have. Imagine if every city had an initiative like this. How many talented young people would get opportunities? How many social barriers would be broken? But I'm just a mechanic. You are a born educator, a natural leader, a visionary. Don't sell yourself short. Emily nodded. Donna Miller, you changed my life, my father's life, all the students' lives. That's not just anything. Donna felt a wave of emotion. Thank you for believing in me, but if we're doing this, we're doing it right, with planning, responsibility, no rushing. I agree, said Martha. Let's create a gradual, sustainable expansion plan. And we'll always keep focus on what really matters, Donna added. People, human development, breaking barriers. Perfect, they both agreed. At that moment, Richard approached the group. Sorry to interrupt, but I heard you talking about national expansion. Can I make a suggestion? Of course, said Donna. How about we start with a regional expansion? Other cities in the state, to test the model before thinking nationally? Excellent idea, Martha agreed. More prudent and realistic. And I can help with contacts, Richard offered. I know business owners and educators in several cities who'd be interested. Donna looked around and saw what her world had become. Engaged people, ambitious projects, dreams taking shape. Everyone, she said, we need a formal meeting to organize all these ideas. How about next week? Perfect, they all agreed. And Donna, Martha said, thank you for letting me be part of this. Thank you for wanting to be part of it. Donna, Richard stepped closer. Can I say something? Of course. 3 months ago, I saw you as a threat. Today, I see you as the best thing that's happened to this company in decades. Richard, you've changed a lot these past 3 months too. I changed because you showed me change is possible and necessary. And now? Now I'm excited to see how far we can go together. Donna smiled, feeling surrounded by people who had become more than colleagues. they'd become family. The following week, the formal meeting took place in Edward's office. Present were Donna, Martha, Richard, Emily, Michael, John, and 3 other young people from the program. Edward opened the meeting with enthusiasm. "Everyone, in 3 months you've created something that exceeds my most optimistic expectations. Now we need to decide how to expand responsibly." Martha presented a detailed plan for documentation and systematization. Richard proposed a list of cities and contacts for regional expansion. Michael showed student performance data, all impressively positive. John and the other young people suggested improvements based on the perspective of those who are learning, and Emily presented a demand survey that left everyone speechless. "Emily," said Edward, "are these numbers real?" "They are, Grandpa. I received expressions of interest from 47 schools, 19 companies, and over 300 young individuals." "In how much time?" 2 weeks. "Since we started promoting the possibility of expansion." Donna was stunned. "Emily, this is impressive and scary." "Why scary?" "Because it means a huge responsibility. 300 young people trusting that we'll create opportunities for them." "Donna," said Edward, "that's exactly why we need to act. We can't disappoint that expectation. But we also can't promise more than we can deliver." "True. That's why we'll grow gradually but consistently." Martha presented a proposed timeline. Expand to 3 cities in the next 6 months, document the methodology, train new instructors, and partner with universities to give the program a solid theoretical foundation. "What about funding?" asked Donna. "I already have interested investors," Edward replied. "Companies that want to support social responsibility initiatives with real returns." "What kind of returns?" "More qualified employees, reduced training costs, improved corporate image, and most importantly, contribution to the region's social development." Richard raised an important point. "Donna, how will we ensure quality as the program grows?" "Good question. I think we need to create a core team of trainers who can teach other instructors and establish strict quality standards." "Who would be this core team?" "You," Donna pointed to the group. "People who've experienced the program from the start and understand its essence." John spoke up. "Mrs. Miller, may I suggest we always include young people from the community in the core team to ensure their perspective isn't lost?" "Excellent suggestion, John. Diversity of perspectives is key." Michael proposed creating audiovisual materials to support new instructor training. Emily suggested a tracking system for graduates to measure the program's real impact. Martha recommended partnerships with universities for research on pedagogical effectiveness. By the end of the meeting, everyone was excited, but also aware of the challenge's magnitude. "Everyone," said Donna, "I want to make it clear that my priority remains quality, not quantity. I'd rather serve 100 people well than 1,000 poorly." "I agree," said Edward. "Quality is non-negotiable." "And my commitment," Donna continued, "is that this program never loses its essence: inclusion, respect, mutual learning, and social transformation." "That's why you should lead the expansion," said Martha. "You're the guardian of these values." "No, Martha. We are the guardians, all of us together." "You're right," Richard agreed. "It's everyone's responsibility." Edward stood and called for attention. "Everyone, I want to formalize something here. Donna, do you officially accept the position of Director of Practical Talent Development at our company?" Donna looked around at the people who had become her second family. "I accept, but on one condition." "What?" "That this be a collective role. That all important decisions are made together by this group." "Donna," said Martha, "this isn't very common in the corporate world." "I don't care about what's common. I care about what's right." Edward smiled broadly. "I accept your condition. In fact, I think it's the only way to ensure the program stays true to its roots." "Then it's settled," said Donna. "Let's move forward." The following months were intense. The program expanded to 3 cities as planned. New instructors were trained, partnerships were established, and the results continued to exceed expectations. Donna found herself constantly traveling, overseeing new programs, training instructors, and encountering different realities. In every city, the same magic happened. Engineers discovering the value of hands-on knowledge, young people finding new possibilities for their futures, and social barriers breaking down naturally. Emily, who had officially dropped out of law school, became the expansion coordinator and showed exceptional talent for project management. Richard developed evaluation methodologies that measured the program's real impact on participants' lives. John was promoted to senior instructor and became a reference for integrating theory and practice. Michael created a standardized curriculum that was adopted as a model by similar initiatives, and Martha documented the entire process, writing a manual that began being studied in universities as an example of educational innovation. 6 months after the formal meeting, Donna received a phone call that would change her perspective on the future once again. "Donna, this is James P. Anderson from the Department of Education." "Hello, how can I help?" "We're interested in learning more about your program. We've received very positive reports about the methodology you've developed." Donna grew nervous. Government contact always made her uncomfortable. Thank you for your interest. We'd like to schedule a site visit. We're considering including similar methodologies in the national guidelines for vocational education." "National guidelines?" "Yes. Your program could influence public policy for the entire country." Donna nearly dropped the phone. "Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Our program is small, local, Ms. Miller. You already serve over 500 students across 4 cities. You have partnerships with 15 companies and 8 schools. And the job placement results are the best we've ever seen." Donna didn't know those numbers by heart. She realized the program had grown beyond what she'd been tracking day to day. Can I discuss this with my team and get back to you?" "Of course. But don't take too long. There's a political window of opportunity, and we don't know how long it'll stay open." After hanging up, Donna sat in silence for a few minutes. National public policy. It was a dimension she'd never considered. She immediately called Edward. "Mr. Thompson, we've received a proposal from the Department of Education." "What kind of proposal?" "They want to study our program to influence national vocational education policies." "Donna, that's fantastic. It's the highest recognition of your work. Or it's a way to turn something simple and authentic into government bureaucracy." "Not necessarily. It depends on how you handle it." "What do you mean?" "You can influence the policies instead of being influenced by them." Donna hadn't considered that perspective. "Do you think we should accept?" "I think you should hear the proposal and decide as a group, like you always do." "You're right. I'll call a meeting." The meeting took place 2 days later. Everyone was impressed by the government's proposal, but also concerned. "Everyone," Donna said. "I need to confess, I'm afraid." "Afraid of what?" asked Martha. "That this becomes politics, that we lose control over our own creation." "Donna," said Richard, "maybe it's the opposite. Maybe this is our chance to ensure other initiatives keep the same values we consider important." "How so?" "If our guidelines become national standards, it could prevent similar programs from being created without the principles of inclusion and respect that define us," Emily agreed. "And we can insist on actively participating in drafting these guidelines, not just providing input, but helping write the rules." John raised an important concern. "But what if the government changes? What if priorities shift? Don't we lose everything?" "Not if we document our methodology well," replied Michael. "If it's officially recorded, it's harder to ignore or change arbitrarily." Martha was pragmatic. "Everyone, look at it this way. If we refuse, others might create similar programs without our values. If we participate, we can influence things positively." Donna grew thoughtful. "You all make good points, but I want to set conditions." "What conditions?" "First, we keep autonomy over our existing programs. Second, we actively participate in any guideline drafting. Third, we can withdraw if we see values being distorted." "Fair," Edward agreed. "And a fourth condition," Donna added. "Any national guidelines must include mandatory participation from community youth and experienced workers, not just academics and managers." "Perfect," said John. "That's the most important one." "So are we decided?" Donna asked. Decided, they all replied. Donna called the Department of Education back and accepted the technical visit but presented her conditions. To her surprise, they agreed without debate. "Ms. Miller, honestly, these conditions show exactly why we want to work with you. They demonstrate commitment to quality and values." The technical visit happened 3 weeks later. A 5-person team from the department spent 2 days reviewing the program, interviewing students, observing classes, and speaking with instructors. The team leader, Dr. Paul Harris, was visibly impressed. "Donna, in 20 years of vocational education work, I've never seen such seamless integration of theory and practice. And I've never seen employment rates this high," added the team's educator, Dr. Ann Lewis. "The secret is we don't treat employability as the end goal," Donna explained. "We treat human development as the goal. Employability is the result." "Explain further," Dr. Paul requested. "When you develop a person holistically, technically, socially, emotionally, they naturally become employable. More than that, they gain the ability to create their own opportunities." Dr. Ann Lewis took notes. "And how do you measure human development?" "We observe behavioral changes, self-esteem, communication skills, leadership, teamwork," Richard answered. "We have qualitative indicators alongside quantitative ones." "Can you give examples?" John volunteered his own story. "A year ago, I was a young man with no prospects, working as a helper in my uncle's shop. Today, I'm an instructor, have a signed contract, am studying mechanics at night, and help train other young people." "What changes do you see in yourself?" "Confidence, public speaking skills, leadership, and most importantly, a vision for the future. Before, I lived day by day. Now, I make long-term plans." Dr. Ann Lewis was moved. "And does this transformation happen with all students?" "Not all, but most," Donna answered honestly. "Some need more time, others need different approaches. But the vast majority experience some kind of positive transformation." Dr. Paul asked a crucial question. "Donna, if we had to choose 3 fundamental elements of your program to replicate on a national scale, what would they be?" Donna thought carefully. "First, real integration between people from different backgrounds. No segregation by social class or education level. Second, hands-on learning from day one. Theory always connected to immediate application. And third, developing self-esteem and a sense of purpose, not just technical skills." Why these 3? Because they address the 3 biggest shortcomings of traditional vocational education: elitism, too much theory, and a narrow focus on technical skills. Dr. Ann Lewis agreed. "Donna, your diagnoses align with the main academic criticisms of the current model." "I don't read academic criticisms," Donna laughed. "I just observe what works and what doesn't in practice." "And that's exactly what makes your perspective valuable," said Dr. Paul. At the end of the visit, the ministerial team made a concrete proposal. "Donna, we'd like to invite you to join a working group that will formulate new national guidelines for vocational education." "What would that involve?" "Monthly meetings in Washington, D.C. for 6 months. You'd contribute practical methodology, and we'd handle the legal framework and implementation resources." Donna looked at her team. "Can I give you an answer next week?" "Of course, but we really hope you'll accept. You could influence the education of millions of young people." After the ministerial team left, Donna called an urgent meeting. "Everyone, we've reached a critical moment. Accepting this proposal means stepping out of our local comfort zone for good and entering the national political arena." "And you're scared?" asked Emily. "I am. Politics is a world I don't know. I'm afraid we'll be manipulated or unintentionally harm our own cause." Richard was direct. "Donna, what's the alternative? Stay here, help a few hundred people, and let others set the rules for millions." "When you put it that way, that's exactly how it is," said Martha. "You have something unique. If you don't share it nationally, others will create inferior programs and call them innovative." Michael added an important point. "And we have an advantage. We're not going as beggars. We're being invited as recognized experts." John was the most straightforward of all. "Mrs. Miller, how many young people like me are there in the country? Hundreds of thousands, millions. If we can help create opportunities for them, isn't it our responsibility to try?" Donna felt the weight of responsibility, but also the clarity of purpose. You're all right, we'll accept, but we'll set clear rules for our participation. What rules? First, our involvement is technical, not political. We don't engage in partisan disputes. Second, any guidelines must be tested in pilot programs before becoming national policy. Third, we retain veto power over any proposal that contradicts our core values. And fourth, we must include student representatives in all discussions. Martha agreed with the conditions. These are sensible safeguards, and they show you're thinking responsibly. Then it's decided, said Donna. We're going to Washington, D.C. The following months were intense. Donna and her team traveled monthly to the capital, attending technical meetings, presenting methodologies, debating with experts from across the country. The process wasn't simple. There was resistance from groups defending traditional vocational education models. There were attempts to water down the program's most innovative aspects. There were moments when Donna considered giving up, but the team remained united and steadfast in their principles. John impressed academics with his articulation of the student's perspective. Richard convinced managers with concrete data on effectiveness. Emily organized presentations that emotionally moved decision-makers. And Donna proved to be a natural negotiator, capable of defending her points without sounding aggressive, of making concessions without compromising what was essential. In the 5th month of the process, an unexpected crisis arose. The press leaked that the government was spending public funds to consult a mechanic without a college degree on educational policies. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Donna became the target of social media attacks, questions about her qualifications, and insinuations of political favoritism. Donna, Richard said after a particularly difficult morning of meetings, "You're being heavily attacked. Are you sure you want to continue?" "I don't know, Richard. When the attacks are against me, I can handle it. But when they start questioning the validity of our work, the progress of our students, that hurts. Don't let people who've never set foot in a workshop define the value of what you do," John said firmly. "John is right," Emily agreed. "The attacks only prove we're shaking up established interests." Martha was pragmatic. "Donna, let's show results. Numbers don't lie. Hard data silences critics." And that's what they did. Instead of responding to the attacks, the team organized a national presentation featuring student testimonials, employment data, and statements from business owners who had hired graduates of the program. The presentation was broadcast live and had a national impact. Donna was nervous, but she spoke with authenticity about her journey, the program's values, and the concrete results they had achieved. "I'm not here to defend degrees or titles," she said to the cameras. "I'm here to defend opportunities, to show that talent exists everywhere, and that our responsibility is to build bridges, not walls." The impact was immediate. Hundreds of messages of support poured in from across the country. Business owners spoke out in favor. Educators acknowledged the validity of the methodology. And most importantly, 3 states announced interest in implementing pilot programs based on Donna's model. Dr. Paul Harris called the day after the presentation. "Donna, you've achieved something rare, turning a crisis into an opportunity for growth." "It wasn't strategy, Dr. Paul. It was just honesty." And that's exactly what worked. Your authenticity stood in stark contrast to the empty attacks from critics. What now? How do we move forward? Now we approve the national guidelines based on your methodology, and we begin implementation in the interested states. Donna could hardly believe it. Approved? Even with all the controversy? Especially because of the controversy. It proved you have something valuable, otherwise it wouldn't have upset the defenders of the status quo so much. 3 months later, Donna was back in her original workshop, observing a class that was now part of a national program. Over 50 cities had already implemented versions of the model, with local adaptations, but maintaining the core principles. Emily, now the program's national coordinator, shared impressive statistics. More than 3,000 young people served, an 87% employment rate, and student satisfaction above 95%. Mrs. Miller, she said, we did it. We really did it. Did what? Changed a system, proved that inclusion and quality can go hand in hand, created real opportunities for people who had none before. Donna smiled but was thoughtful. Emily, do you know what makes me happiest in all of this? What? It's not the national recognition or the awards we've received or the number of people we've helped. Then what is it? It's knowing we've created something that will continue to exist beyond us, that we've planted seeds that will grow for decades. Richard approached the two women. Donna, I just found out our methodology will be studied in universities abroad. International delegations want to learn about our program. Really? Really? You've become a global reference for inclusive vocational education. Donna laughed. Richard, 3 years ago, you wanted to kick me out of a party for being covered in oil. Now you're telling me I'm a worldwide role model. And do you know the most incredible part? What? You're still the same person. Even with all this success, all this recognition, you remain humble, grounded, focused on what truly matters. Because what truly matters hasn't changed, Richard. It's still about people, still about opportunities, still about dignity. John joined the group. Mrs. Miller, can I share some news? Of course. I just got accepted into university. I'll study mechanical engineering. John, that's wonderful. What about your work here? I'll keep teaching on weekends. I want to balance academic theory with hands-on experience. Perfect. That's exactly how it should be. Edward, now 83 but still active, walked over. Donna, I have one final proposal for you. What proposal? I want you to take over as company president when I retire for good. Donna was speechless. Mr. Thompson, I don't have the qualifications to lead an engineering firm. You have something far more important: vision, leadership, solid values, and you'll have a skilled team to support you on technical matters. Donna looked around at the people who'd become her family. Can I think about it? Of course. But remember, you've already been leading for 3 years. The only difference would be the official title. That night, Donna walked alone through the garage where it all began. Edward's car still sat there running perfectly, a lasting reminder that seemingly impossible problems can have surprising solutions. Her mother, Mrs. Angela, appeared in the doorway. Thinking about Mr. Thompson's offer? I am, Mom, and I'm scared. Scared of what? Of not being good enough, of letting down the people who believe in me. Mrs. Angela stepped closer. Donna, remember what your father always said about fear? That it's normal, but it shouldn't stop you from trying. Exactly. And what did he say about being good enough? That no one is born ready for anything. You grow into it by doing. Then you already have your answer. Donna hugged her mother. Thank you for always believing in me. Thank you for never giving me reason to doubt. The following Monday, Donna gathered her team. Everyone, I've decided to accept Mr. Thompson's offer. Cheers erupted instantly. But, she continued, I accept on one condition. What? Several asked at once. That we keep working exactly as we always have, as a team with mutual respect, focused on human growth. Donna, Martha said, it wouldn't be any other way. You taught us real leadership means serving, not commanding. And that true success is collective, not individual, Richard added. And that real change happens one person at a time, John said. Donna wiped her eyes. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this wild journey. Thank you for making it possible, Emily replied. 5 years after the first opening, Donna stood at another formal event, this time as the keynote speaker at an international conference on inclusive vocational education. The audience included educators from 15 countries, business leaders from various industries, young lives transformed by the program, and her entire original team. 5 years ago, Donna said into the microphone, I was just a neighborhood mechanic who received a mysterious invitation. Today, I represent a movement that has already transformed the lives of over 50,000 people across dozens of countries. She paused. But I want to make one thing clear. I didn't transform anyone. We transformed each other. because true education is always a two-way street. The boy who taught me that simple questions can have profound answers. The engineer who showed me that humility is the foundation of wisdom. The young woman who proved to me that determination has no age limit. The businessman who demonstrated that generosity knows no bounds. Each of them taught me just as much as I could teach them. Donna paused and looked at the audience. So when people ask me what the secret to our success is, I tell them, there is no secret. There's only a genuine willingness to learn from one another, to break down artificial barriers, to build bridges where walls once stood. And there's the belief that talent knows no social class, that knowledge isn't measured by diplomas, and that dignity is priceless. The applause was long and heartfelt. Donna saw tears in the eyes of many in the audience, including her own team. After the speech, Edward approached her. Donna, your father would be prouder than words can say. I hope so. I'm certain of it. You've not only honored his memory, you've turned his legacy into something far greater than he ever imagined. We've turned it, Mr. Edward. All of us, together. That's true, and that's why I know the future is in good hands. Donna looked around the auditorium, where young people from different countries chatted excitedly about future projects, where business owners discussed innovative partnerships, where educators exchanged transformative experiences. It had all started with a car that had sat idle for 36 years and a woman willing to listen to what it had to say. Now, tens of thousands of lives had been touched, changed, uplifted. Mr. Edward, Donna said, can I confess something? Of course. Sometimes I still can't believe all of this is real. It's real, Donna, and it's only the beginning. The beginning? The beginning of a new way of thinking about education, work, and social inclusion. You've created a model that will influence generations. Donna smiled, finally at peace with the magnitude of the journey. Then let's keep going. There are always more bridges to build, more barriers to break, more lives to transform. Always, Edward agreed. As the sun set over the city, Donna knew she had found her true purpose in life. Not just fixing engines, but fixing destinies. Not just making cars run, but making dreams come true. Edward's car still ran perfectly, and now thousands of lives were running perfectly too, thanks to the courage of a woman who refused to accept that things had to stay the way they'd always been. End of story. Now tell me, do you think Donna made the right choices? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one.